You are listening to the Fly the W670 podcast. It's season 2. It's episode 74, The Ghost of Brant Brown. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and most importantly, subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on the socials, Fly the W670 on Twitter, Instagram, and of course on Facebook. Email us, flythew670@gmail.com. Well, Crawly, I'd like to say happy Friday. That's about the only good news we've got to report is that it is a Friday.
Yeah, I mean, when you and I talked about, when we made our predictions in the last episode, I took them taking 1 out of 3, and that to me was even dicey on that. It's not to say they didn't have their chances, but this was definitely a step up in class, and the Cubs just could not compete against what the Braves have.
Yeah, definitely a step up in class. They did compete in 2 of the 3 games. So let's get at it, Crawly. Let's get into game number 1, Justin Steele, the game that we felt most comfortable about.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they competed in all 3. They just didn't have enough. And in game 1 was their best chance at a win right there. Everyone was hoping for a bounce-back start from Justin Steele after giving up 6 runs in his previous 2 starts. The Cubs staked him to some early runs. We figured against Bryce Elder that the Cubs would get their runs. It's just not enough, right? In the second, Cody Bellinger and Seiya led the inning off with singles. Dansby grounded out and Morel struck out. But with 2 outs, Mr. Clutch, Yan Gomes singled to give the Cubs a 1-0 lead. Miles Mastrobuoni then ended another run with a single of his own, and the Cubs are up 2-0. In the top of the third, Nico and Cody Bellinger draw walks. Seiya Suzuki doubled the Cubs' lead with a triple. 2 runs are going to score. Now the Cubs are up 4-0. But with Seiya at third and only 1 out, Dansby would walk, Morel would line out, Gomes would strike out to end the threat. You're just going to see against a team like the Braves with their firepower, this is what we talked about, runners in scoring position in the last series against the Rockies. Even though the results were good against the Rockies, that was my concern. You cannot leave runners on base against this potent Braves lineup. And, that just hurt. To have runner at third and 1 out and not get him in, can't do that.
Can't do that. Not if you're going to win, not if you're going to play October baseball other than 1 game.
Right. In the fourth, Miles Mastrobuoni and Mike Tauchman walked to lead off the inning. And in the first of some questionable managerial decisions in this game, Mike Tauchman was pulled for pinch runner PCA. While PCA is definitely the future, that's early to start focusing on defense against a lineup as good as the Braves and in a ballpark that plays real small. PCA has struggled offensively, so it was a head scratcher. With 2 on and no outs, Nico would line out, Happ would fly out, but Cody Bellinger would come up with a 2-out single, and the Cubs were up 5-0. Elder's night was done, and the Cubs offense did a good job against him. Jackson Stevens was first out of the pen, facing runners at the corners, 2 outs, when Seiya, who already had a single and a 2-run triple, he gets another one, and Cody runs to steal second. Braves catcher Sean Murphy fakes a throw to second, right? He catches PCA in no man's land. He is caught in a rundown, and the inning was over. Huge rookie mistake.
Yeah, and there's been plenty of those. I mean, he has made 2 nice catches. Otherwise, not so impressed with PCA so far.
Now, the Cubs would add 1 more run in the 6th when Miles Mastrobuoni hit his 3rd single of the game. PCA bunted to hit it to second. Nico would single to put runners at the corners, and Ian Happ would drive him in with an RBI single. Cubs are leading 6-0 in the 6th. Got to be feeling good at this point, but
feeling good.
Right. Did Steele look good? He gave up a double in the first and a double in the second, but then he retired the next 8 batters he faced, struck out the side in the third. It was better than we've seen him in a long time. But as we talked about a lot of times, Justin has thrown nearly 54 more innings than his previous career high. If it was me, I would have had double action going in the pen in that 6th inning in case there was an issue. No one was up. Dustin, were you surprised in the 6th, the way he was going, that nobody was up?
I was surprised. Yep, I was surprised. But obviously the bullpen can't be trusted. Maybe that was what it was. Maybe they thought that he was going to push through, but 54 more innings in a lot.
Yep. Now, the first batter Steele faced, Kevin Pillar, the number 9 hitter, mind you, hits a 425-foot home run to left center. Steele got Acuna to ground out in the first out of the inning, but he gave up a double to Ozzie Albies. He walked Austin Riley and then gave up a single to Matt Olson to score Albies to make it 6-2. Runners at first and second, still only 1 out, and his night was done. I thought he pitched well, just ran out of gas,
Ran out of gas, and I'm you know me, I'm not a fan of letting their best people beat you. I would have walked Matt, especially knowing that you were going to the pen. He knew he was going to the pen. Oh, if Matt Olson gets a hit, we're going to the pen. Just walk Matt Olson and go to the pen.
Yeah, it's hard against this team because it's all these
they got
guys.
5 or 6 guys that hit 30 home runs. I mean, it's crazy.
Right. It's just impossible. That's the thing about this team is you can't walk people because now you're going to set yourself up for a big inning. And, with runners at first and second, still 1 out, Jose Cuas would come out first and give up a double to Marcell Ozuna to score Riley. Olson would move to third, and the Cubs and the Braves now are trailing only 6-3 with runners at second and third and 1 out. Cuas then got Orlando Arcia to pop out, and he struck out Michael Harris to end the threat. And the Cubs are still holding on to a 6-3 lead. Next out of the pen in the 7th was Javier Assad. He pitched so well against the Rocky. First thing he does, he walks the leadoff batter, Sean Murphy. Dustin, the guy we said on the cold list, didn't have a hit all night. He walks him. He strikes out Eddie Rosario, but Ronald Acuna, who was 0 for 3 in the game, hit a 1-2 pitch to right field. Assad would retire the next 2 runners, but the Cubs were now clinging to a 1-run lead, 6-5 game. Now, look, Dustin, I'm pissed off about the leadoff walk, no doubt. Acuna is probably going to walk away with the MVP. He's one of the best players in the game.
Why pitch to him, too? Again, why pitch to him in that situation? Let somebody else beat you. Let somebody else beat you. I am sick and tired of Acuna.
I'm going to say, though, the guy was 0 for 3. I get what you're saying, but against this team, you cannot walk pretty much Kevin Pillar. That's the list, and Sean Murphy. You got 2 guys that you can walk. That's it, intentionally. Other than that, any one of these guys are going to pop one off on you at any given time. You don't want to add more base runners in that situation. But what bothered me, Dustin, on this is that, Assad gave up the home run to Acuna, but then he looked pretty good after that, and he only pitched 1 inning instead of, to me, going maybe 2 or 3. You get what I'm saying?
Well, I hear you.
Now, time for another bizarre raw sequence in this game with former Cub farmhand on the mound, Pierce Johnson. Yan Gomes leads off the 8th with a single. Braves manager Brian Snitker pulls him for lefty Brad Hand to face lefty Miles Mastrobuoni. So lefty versus lefty. Now, at this point in the game, Miles Mastrobuoni is 3 for 3 and has been the Cubs' best hitter in the last week, Dustin, slashing 500, 529, 500. And he asks Mastrobuoni to bunt. Not only that, the Cubs' slowest runner on the team, Yan Gomes, is at first. This makes no sense to me. It goes about as well as you would expect. Mastrobuoni bunts it to the pitcher, who throws out Yan Gomes easily at second, and now you've just given up an out. Then, in a 1-run game late, Ross pulls his best defensive center fielder in PCA to pinch hit for Patrick Wisdom, right? Wisdom would strike out. Nico Horner would ground out, stranding Mastrobuoni at third. But again, the whole half inning just defied baseball logic, okay? You now start the bottom of the 8th. PCA's out of the game. You move Cody Bellinger to center, and now Patrick Wisdom is playing first. You've just hurt yourself defensively in a 1-run game. Made no sense.
No, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. That's the one of the biggest issues I probably had with David Ross over the past 3 days. That did not make sense at all. He overthunk game number 1 for sure.
Absolutely. Now Drew Smyly comes into the game. He walks the leadoff batter just like Assad did in the 7th to put the tying run on with no outs. He then throws a wild pitch to advance the tying run to second. He gets Marcell Ozuna to strike out. Smyly then throws his second wild pitch to move the tying run to third with 1 out. He then walks another batter, Orlando Arcia, to put the go-ahead run at first with 1 out. Now, Smyly gets Michael Harris to strike out. Pinch runner Forrest Wall steals seconds. There's 2 outs, Dustin, with the worst hitter in the Braves lineup, Sean Murphy, up. And Smyly gets Murphy to hit a ball to right center. And you're watching it. Seiya Suzuki is calling off Bellinger. And then again, the title of the episode, The Ghost of Brant Brown, he whiffs on the catch. 2-run score. The Braves take a 7-6 lead. That would be the final score, Dustin. The Cubs would not score in the 9th. It was just stunning. And for those of us who have lived this before, it just brought back a lot of PTSD, man.
Yeah, it brought back a lot of bad memories. I mean, at least Brant Brown, at least it hit him in the glove. I mean, Seiya completely whiffed. I mean, absolutely positively whiffed. And then we get maybe it's the LED lights and excuses and whatnot. And people are mad at Suzuki. Crawly, I was more mad at Drew Smyly than I was at Seiya Suzuki.
Walk in two guys and two wild pitches.
Right.
I mean, you basically put them on there and
right. He put the people at second and third. He put them there.
Right.
Single-handedly, all by himself.
And, I do think that they've talked about the lights. If you remember, there was a time where Ian Happ came back out after the game when the Cubs got the new LED lights and was trying to adjust things. I mean, that's definitely an issue. I mean, I think there was a couple good I thought that the calls, all of the calls were really good, but I think Jim Deshaies, what do you say? Oh my goodness. Like that's going to stick with this generation of Cub fans coming up, just how stunning that was. And and that image of Drew Smyly putting his hands over his head to clap and then spinning around in shock. I mean, That was brutal. The Cubs offense scored 6 runs on 13 hits, but went 6 for 16 with runners in scoring position. They left 9 men on base, Dustin. We talked about that against this offense. It's just not going to cut it.
No, it won't cut it. Not against the Braves. Won't cut it against many playoff teams.
Steele went 5.1 innings. He gave up 3 runs on 6 hits, but one of those runs scored after Jose Cuas gave up a double. Saad gave up a 2-run homer, and Smyly walked 2 batters that came around to score. He gave up 2 runs on 0 hits. They, of course, and then that should have been an error on Suzuki, but it wasn't. But that when you think about the 2023 season, and it's tough because people are like, well, it shouldn't be. I heard David Haw and you guys talking about it in the morning show. The indelible image that's going to be there, it shouldn't. Seiya Suzuki, and Ross brought this up, and I agree with him. He has carried the Cubs offensively for the last month and a half. They don't have about half the runs if Seiya didn't drive him in this game. He's the one that was offensively doing his job. But again, people remember, if you remember when Leon Durham made the error in 1984 against San Diego, he didn't miss almost any balls at all at first. He was as sure-handed as they come, and he was a guy that was a huge offensive driving force, but that's the image you remember. Alex Gonzalez, he barely made any errors, and he hit a couple home runs in the playoffs. It's that double play ball, so that is going to be an image that sticks with people for a long time. I was concerned that it would affect Seiya's mental fortitude in this one because, remember, David Ross talked about, when he benched him, it was more mental than physical issues that was affecting him. And again, the last thing you needed was Seiya Suzuki to struggle offensively.
Well, he's been carrying the team offensively. There is no doubt about that. All right, so the Cubs are down 1-0. Game number 2, Jameson Taillon throwing.
Yep, Taillon versus Darius Vines. And we didn't know what Taillon was going to do. He's kind of been an enigma all year. We were concerned about his road numbers, and it looked like our fears were going to be realized when in the first inning, he gave up a home run to Ozzie Albies, and the Cubs were down 1-0. But after that, Taillon settled down and was able to tame this potent Braves lineup. He gave up a leadoff double to start the second, but then, Dustin, he sat down the next 15 Braves. Absolutely tremendous performance. I mean, just unreal. Now, the Braves starting pitcher, Darius Vines, had been in the minor leagues all season until being called up on August 30th. This was his second start of the year. Vines sat the Cubs down in order in the first, but then they scored a fluke run in the second. Cody Bellinger led off with a single. Seiya drew a walk. Then Swanson flied to right. I thought the ball was going to get past Acuna. He makes it, but he's on his back. And so Bellinger is able to advance to third with 1 out. Recently activated Jeimer Candelario is at the plate. The ball kind of starts going inside. Looks like it almost might hit him. It hits his back, goes behind the catcher. Bellinger comes home, and the umpire rules that it was a passed ball. And Bellinger scores. Now on replay, the ball clearly hits the bat. But for some stupid reason, the play is not reviewable. Braves manager Brian Snitker comes out to explain, hey, guys, it hit the bat. There's no way that was a pass ball, the way the ball ricocheted. And so the umps met to see if anyone saw it. None of them did. The run stood and the game's tied. I'm guessing, Dustin, that rule will be changed in 2024. That was just awful.
Yeah, even though it went the Cubs' way, that was awful. Yes.
Just awful. Snitker let the umps have it. He was tossed from the game. And in the top of the third, Mike Tauchman and Ian Happ both homered to put the Cubs up 3-1. And I'm thinking, okay, here we go. This is what needs to happen. Routes on. You got Vines in there. Knock him out. Throw some more runs up. But they didn't. Okay. All of a sudden, Vines would go on 6 innings. He gave up 3 runs, really only 2 because that one was garbage on 4 hits. So you're telling me you can only get 2 home runs and 2 other hits against this guy that was in the minors. That right to me right there, that was going to be it. I just kind of had a gut feeling, right?
Yeah, they did not put the foot on the gas like we would like to say. Yeah, that doomed them, no doubt about it.
Tyone's cruising, but in the bottom of the 7th, he gives up a leadoff walk to Austin Riley, and Matt Olson singles to put runners at the corners with no outs. The next batter, Marcell Ozuna, hits one to Nico, who tries to flip it to Dansby to start a double play, but his throw is too high. The ball goes over the glove of Dansby. Everyone is safe. Riley scored, and again, he was going to score anyway because they would have gone for the double play. 3-2 ball game. Tyone's night's done. He pitched 6 innings, gave only 3 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, and 3 Ks. But Drew Smyly, to me, when I'm watching this, there's another error, and I'm sitting here. I told you, Dustin, before the game, runners in scoring position, bullpen. The one thing I didn't count on was the defense, which had been one of the calling cards of this team to completely fall apart.
Yeah, it let them down. It's let them down all 3 games. We'll get into more than that as we get into game number 3, but let's keep going on game 2.
Drew Smyly, the first out of the Cubs' beleaguered pen, with runners on first and second, only 1 out. He got Sean Murphy to strike out and Kevin Pillar to pop out. So good. The Cubs lead 3-2. And then Julian Merriweather comes out and gets the first out of the inning in the 8th. And then Ronald Acuna would single. He would steal second. And then Cubs killer Ozzie Albies ties the game with a single. Merriweather gets them out of the inning on a nice strike him out double, throw him out double play. And so now we got a tie game. And so that takes us to the 9th with 1 out. Dansby was hit by a pitch. Jeimer Candelario would draw a walk. PCA came in to pinch run, and Mr. Clutch, Yan Gomes, singled to score Dansby, and the Cubs retook the lead 4-3. The Cubs had runners at the corners with 1 out for Miles Mastrobuoni, who's again been one of the hottest hitters. But in a situation where he had to make contact and drive in that run at third with 1 out, he strikes out. Mike Tauchman lines out to end the threat. And now the Cubs only have a 1-run lead. Next out of the pen is Mark Leiter. Leiter had not pitched in a week. First batter he faced, Matt Olson, he pops out to second, but the pitch wasn't good. He just missed it. He just got under it. He fell behind the next batter, Marcell Ozuna, 3-0. And threw him a 91-mile-per-hour fastball right down the middle that Ozuna hits 413 feet to left center to tie the game. The next batter, Michael Harris, doubled, and Ross had seen enough. Leiter was out. Jose Cuas came in. He threw a wild pitch that's about 15 feet outside the zone. Harris is going to move to third, but he gets the next 2 runners to ground out, and Harris was left stranded. But, Dustin, this is another one that I scratched my head, and I know there's not a lot of good options, but there is clearly an issue with Mark Leiter. My guess is we'll find out after the season he was hurt, but he won't throw a split finger anymore, which was his main bread and butter pitch. The guy literally had nothing. Why wouldn't you have gone with Luke Little?
Right. I don't know why Luke Little doesn't go until game number 3. I was saying that all day long, and I would have flip-flopped it. I would have actually had Leiter go earlier, and I would have had Merriweather try to end it.
I guess, but Leiter can't throw, and that's the concern. He can't throw. When you can't throw your main pitch, then these guys, especially against some of these bullpen guys that are 2-pitch pitchers, they're just going to be sitting on it. And that's exactly what they did. I mean, trust me, David Ross was running faster than I've ever seen him run to get him out of the game. We get to extra innings, top of the 10th, Tauchman starting at second. Nico lines out. Tauchman moves to third. Happ would hit a sac fly. Tauchman scores. Cubs go up 5-4. And now, again, you only got a 1-run lead. Daniel Palencios comes in to pitch the bottom of the 10th. Kevin Pillar starts at second. Orlando Arcia would ground out. Pillar moves to third. Ronald Acuna singled to tie the game. And then in a controversial moment, he would steal second to make him the first player to hit 40 home runs and steal 70 bases. The game is stopped. He raises the base above his head. They play a montage in the middle of this game. That, Dustin, was absolutely ridiculous.
Well, the first part of it was he grabbed the base like somebody was going to steal it from him. He ripped that thing out of the ground. He bent over immediately. And then I think they went to the montage. Obviously, this was all predetermined, meaning when you steal your 70th base, grab it out of the ground quick, and we're going to go to a video tribute to you. There's no doubt in my mind about that at all. And Ross tried to shrug it off afterwards. That wasn't the reason they lost the game, but it definitely slowed down the rhythm of the pitcher. There's no doubt about that.
Whatever it is, you're sitting here and the Cubs are fighting for their playoff light. You could have easily done the whole ceremony the next game. You could have pulled the base out, exchanged it, put a new base in, or you could have just kept the base in between innings. You could have put a new base in. It wasn't a big deal, but you don't stop the game. You don't do a montage.
And it's a made up record. It's a made up record. It's not like some long standing record. It's a made up club.
Right, and it's an achievement, and it deserves to be recognized. Not
sure.
in the middle of a game. Not in the middle of a
MVP.
game.
Right, he'll win the MVP. Not
in the middle of the game. And kudos to both JD and Boog. I know they've gotten some feedback from the Atlanta people and some national people, but they were right to criticize it. It shouldn't have happened. Either ways, the game resumes. Ozzie Albies singles, because of course that's what Ozzie Albies always does against the Cubs. Acuna scores, and the Cubs lose 6-5. Dustin, the Cubs had the lead in the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and 10th inning and could not win the game.
Right. That's why there's not one thing, right? You can't blame this on one person. When you blow all those leads, you cannot blame it on one single person. This was a team loss.
The offense scored 5 runs on 7 hits. They went 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position and left 7 on base, and the bullpen gave up 4 runs. It's again, runners in scoring position and bullpen, what I said before this series started.
Yep, and we didn't think the defense was going to be part of it, but it definitely was. All right, Crawly, next we're going to move to game 3.
All right, this is what we were all waiting for, the Marcus Stroman start. He has to come up big. But Dustin, let's be honest. He wasn't healthy when they activated him. He didn't look great in the bullpen except for maybe like a half an inning. He just didn't have it. Now, this is not all on Stroman, like you said. This was a team effort, whether you talk about this game or whether you're talking about the other 2 games. But the offense, Dustin, to me, looked listless, and the defense looked atrocious. You had a 20-year-old rookie, A.J. Smith-Shraver, on the mound. Cubs got on the board first, but again, it wasn't because anything they did. It was another gift run. Second game in a row that they got a freebie. Mike Tauchman walks to lead off the game. He steals second. Nico grounds out to advance Tauchman to third. And with the infield in, Ian Happ hits one to third baseman, Austin Riley. He had plenty of time. I don't know why he's rushing it. He guns it home, and the throw was more towards the left field side, the left field dugout side. And Tauchman was called safe. But Dustin, to me, he absolutely looked out. The Braves are looking at it on replay, but they take too long to make a decision to challenge. So Snitker signals he wants a challenge, but the ump says, sorry, too late, dude. So free run for the Cubs. Did you think he was out?
I didn't think he was out, but I think they should have reviewed it. I felt bad, I guess, for the Braves, if you can feel bad for a team that's won 100 games. But really close play. They called him, the other part is they called him safe. So I think when you call the guy safe, it's harder. Got to have a lot more evidence to call the guy out. It was ugly, but, it was a very athletic play by Tauchman, high stepping it over the glove.
Right. Now, Cody Bellinger would ground out, and Seiya Suzuki was robbed of extra bases on a great catch by left fielder Eddie Rosario to end the inning. So Stroman is staked to a 1-run lead. He gets the first 2 batters out before giving up a single to Austin Riley, and then Matt Olson hit a 2-run homer, his 54th of the season, and 136 RBI, which broke the most RBIs in a single season in Braves history. So now you're down 2-1. The Braves added some more runs.
Again, why? I don't care that he had 2 strikes on him. Both these runs end up coming because of 2 strikes. He gives up the single, then he gives up the home run. But again, why? Why are you letting these 2 guys? And again, if I'm managing, don't see a pitch.
I'm going to disagree, Dustin. I'm going to disagree.
I know you are. I sound like a broken record. I'm just saying that
it works.
Super frustrating.
It works against a team like New York, where you say there's one guy that can beat you on this team. One guy that can beat you. Pete Alonso. Don't let that one guy beat you. Here, go ahead. Throw it to Ozuna. Put guys on in front of Ozuna, Rosario. Put him in front of Ozzie Albies. You see how good that worked in game 2. You can't do it. There's just too many weapons to be able to walk guys. You walk guys, you're inviting a big inning. That's my opinion. And you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, I guess, but I don't do that. When you take a look at this right here, though, the Braves added more runs in the bottom of the second. Eddie Rosario led off the inning with a ball to left field. Ian Happ looked like he should have had it, but the ball squirts out of his glove for a 2-base error. He would come around to score on a Michael Harris double to make it 3-1. Stroman would get Orlando Arcia to strike out for the second out, but Ronald Acuna drew Evan Harris on a single, and the Cubs trail 4-1. That would be it for Stroman, going 2 innings, giving up 4 runs, only 2 of them earned on 4 hits. But Dustin, he was giving up a lot of hard contact. The sinker wasn't sinking.
Lots of hard contact. Again, I would have flipped this. I would have started Assad, and then I would have went to Stroman if that was needed.
Right. Assad comes in the third, and Austin Riley hit a leadoff triple, which I thought wasn't played very well by Tauchman. Assad got Matt Olson to strike out. He walked Ozuna to put runners in the corner, but then Assad gets Eddie Rosario to hit a dribbler. Assad's looking to throw out the runner at home, but he bobbles it. Everyone's safe. Now that makes it 5-1. I mean, that should have been another out right there that, if he played it cleanly, the runner's out at home. Assad gets the next 2 out to end the innings. But again, defense fails him. That's just unbelievable.
Yeah, defense let him down. There's no doubt about it.
Right. While the pitching was giving up runs and the defense was dropping balls everywhere, the offense was doing nothing against a 20-year-old rookie. The Cubs didn't even get their first hit until the 4th inning when Seiya hit a 2-out single. Dustin, through 5 innings, the Cubs only had 3 base runners, a walk in the 1st, Seiya single in the 4th, and a Candelario walk in the 5th. That's it. Now, the Cubs start to make some noise in the 6th when Nico leads off to start the inning. Happ grounds out and Cody Bellinger strikes out. But Seiya doubles to score Happ, and then the Cubs cut the lead to 5-2. The bullpen, which looked like problems in the first 2 games, looked good. They kept the Cubs in it. Assad gave up 1 run on his own error. Luke Little pitched 1.2 innings of shutout ball, and Hayden Wesniewski pitched 2.1 innings of scoreless ball. The Cubs would have 1 more shot in the 8th. Nico would lead off with a single. Happ would strike out, but Bellinger and Seiya would hit back-to-back singles to score Nico and make it a 5-3 game with the tying run at 1st and 2nd. But Dansby Swanson, who was 1 for 10 in the series with a walk and a hit by pitch, grounds into a double play to end the threats, and the Cubs did nothing against Raciel Iglesias. The Braves would take this one 5-3 to sweep the Cubs. Against a rookie and a lower tier bullpen pitchers until they got to Iglesias, they only scored 3 runs on 6 hits, Dustin. 3 of those hits and 2 of the runs were off the bat of Seiya Suzuki. Tauchman 0 for 3 with a walk. Happ 0 for 4. Swanson 0 for 3, hits into that double play to kill the threat. Candelario 0 for 3. Gomes 0 for 4. Mastrobuoni 0 for 4. Only 3 Cubs players got hits. Nico and Cody and Seiya Suzuki. Not acceptable. Not in a game that was do or die like that.
Not the do or die game. No. Not in a do or die game.
You sat there and you knew what you had to do, and you had to play, again, the bullpen is taxed. You had to do better with runners in scoring position offensively, and you had to play clean defense, and you couldn't do any of the 3 things you needed to do. No bullpen. The offense stunk, runners in scoring position, and the defense just completely let them down. Again, the defense, the trademark of what this team was built upon. Absolutely, just absolutely stunning. And now you're sitting there and you're going to need a baseball miracle if this team has any chance of postseason. They're on life support.
Maybe Crawly, the Brewers want to play the Cubs. We're going to find that out. We're going to talk about that next. You are listening to the Fly the W670 podcast. It's season 2, episode 74. It's the ghost of Brant Brown. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. In this segment, Crawly interviews Mick Gillispie, play-by-play broadcaster for the Southern League champs, the Tennessee Smokies, to talk about the end of the Smokies' 45-year title drought.
Here's the 1-2. Swing, line drive, leaping, and it's caught by Shaw. And for the first time in 45 years, them boys from Tennessee have planted their pennant alone atop the mountain. In 2023, at long last, the Smokies are champions of the Southern League. They win the ball game by a score of 10-3. They sweep away their biggest nemesis. And they've won it all. What do you say?
What do you say? Joining me now on the Fly the W podcast, we got the Southern League champion broadcaster, Mick Gillispie. Mick, I just got to ask you, how you feeling after all that craziness went down last night?
Yeah, hey, what do you say, man? I didn't get the what do you say call from that song, by the way. I got it from my grandfather, how he answered the phone every day. And
awesome.
it's just such a Cubs kind of thing, even though it had nothing to do with the Cubs. It just had to do with like everybody in my family always answered the phone, or when they would see it, it'd be like, what do you say? And I just was like, I wonder. So years ago, I started that. And what I say is I feel great. That we had lost 4 championships, and Ryan Sandberg got us to the first one. He in 2009 really turned the culture around the winning, and we got absolutely hosed by a bad umpire in game 1, and we lost a tough series with the Marlins AA affiliate, the one we just beat. And we got back the next year. Rhino had gone to Iowa, and we had a guy named Bill Dancy. That team was 33 games over 500. We were so good, and we lost to the same team. And then we lost again in 2011. We had a guy named Brian Harper, really good guy. Really didn't manage the playoffs great, and they're tough, man. There's so many different things that can go wrong, Well, we got back last year. It's the first time since 2011 we got back, and we were in the same spot we were in yesterday, and we lost back-to-back games to those guys. Marlins AA affiliate now in Pensacola. So to win the first game and just kick the crap out of them and then do it again a second time to not come up short, it was awesome, and all those years, to think that it was a Cubs affiliate that won this one, and it was a White Sox affiliate that won the one in 1978 with Tony La Russa and Harold Baines and Joe Gates, Britt Byrne, some really good players were on that team back then. And we're going to look back at this team and we're going to realize there was a lot of good players too. But I didn't want to mess the call up. This is Tennessee's team, and I wanted them to have a call that represented that area and what they do. And I hope that that's what we got out of it.
I still get some goosebumps here. And when we last talked, the Smokies punched their second half ticket to the postseason by winning the second half of the season. And the first opponent you guys got were the Chattanooga Lookouts. And, Cade Horton, the number 1 draft pick from 2022, he starts game 1, pitches 5 scoreless innings of shutout ball. He only gave up 3 hits. And the one thing, when I watch the different games from the Smokies, Cade Horton, everyone knows what a stud he is. But I was just really, really impressed with the bullpen. Zach Lee, I thought, pitched well. Riley Martin and Hunter Biggs. Yeah. Those guys, they just did not look rattled at all.
No. Well, let me start with Cade Horton. He's top of the line stuff. I mean, he's ace stuff. He's ahead of where any pitcher we've had in a long time has been. This was like his 8th start, 2 in the playoffs and 6 in the regular season, and you're already looking at him and going, okay, he's going to be a really good big leaguer. And the scouting side of me, and some scouts, I was talking to some scouts I'm friends with before the game, and I said, well, he's great. I mean, he's an ace type guy. He's got this amazing, really tight grip slider that he can put where he wants it. He can change speeds with it. He can throw it for a strike. He can throw it where it's not a strike, but it looks like a strike. He throws the fastball where he wants it. Sometimes it's a little flat, but it doesn't matter. I mean, because you have to worry so much about the slider, it just sneaks up on you at 95. Which is crazy that we don't think 95's throwing gas anymore. But when he elevates it, I like it. I like it when it's up here. He throws a changeup. He doesn't throw it enough for me. And he walks some guys, maybe cut back on that. But I'm nitpicking. I mean, this guy's he stays healthy, and you put him right there with Wicks and Steele and Assad, and you got a pretty good young rotation.
Yeah, and like I said, the bullpen, kept that one, kept it close as far as the game is concerned, as far as Zach Lee, Riley Martin, and Hunter Big. Yeah, Hunter Big picked up the save on that one. And then he did. He was awesome. I mean, during the regular season, there's a lot of restrictions,
that the Cubs put on pitching because they don't want guys to get hurt. And I've criticized them for it. I think you got to be a little bit, I think you've got to play the game. I mean, I just think you do, but they're one of the safest, one of the most conservative organizations when it comes to pitching. And I think it slows down developing at times, but not for everyone. It's not going to affect Cade Horton, I don't think. I mean, he's just that good, Wicks, some of those guys that that have left or that aren't having the success. I think they probably need to pitch more innings just to get the touch and feel that it takes to be an everyday pitcher. But Hunter Biggie was so good. I mean, he went, the games against Chattanooga were really tight, and we've played them a ton, like 30 times in the regular season, and they're a good team, and they won the first half. But we've always played them good. I mean, they're our neighbor. We see them a lot. They're like less than 2 hours from our stadium, and he came in and just threw gas. And we saw him doing this at the beginning of the year, and then he got promoted to AAA, and he didn't have the success that he had. And then he came back, and he was out of kilter, and then he found it again. So when you have all of a sudden you got three really good pitchers in these short series, right? So right. you had Horton, and you had Walker Powell, and then you had Brandon Birdsell. I've got a spider on my microphone. And then so you got those. I don't want him to jump in my mouth, so a little jumping spider. And then you got Biggie closing out games, and there was a guy named Blake Whitney who's helped out a lot during the season. Frankie Scalzo Jr., who we hadn't even had that long, but he was really good. Like we were in trouble in the Chattanooga game at home, and he came in with the bases loaded and 1 out, 1 pitch, got a double play, and that changed the entire game and that entire series. And then, and basically what the formula was for all these games is we scored first, and we scored a lot, and then the bullpen pitched after the starters. And if anyone got in trouble, the manager, Kevin Graber, was on top of bringing the next guy in and never really allowing the lookouts or the Blue Wahoos to get momentum.
Yeah, and again, scoring early in game one, you scored 3 runs in the third, all 3 runs. BJ Murray, who went 2 for 3, had an RBI. Owen Casey, 2 for 4 with RBI double, and Haiti McCreary ground out for the third run. So the Smokies win this one 3-1. And, when you take a look at Owen Casey, he's a guy that he's always going to be tied to the Yu Darvish trade. And he really kind of turned some heads, I wanted to say, in the World Baseball Classic. You got to see him for the season. What did you see with Owen?
Well, I really like Owen. He's still a young player. He's got, first off, just defensively, he's excellent. He's got a great arm. His routes are fantastic to the ball in the outfield. He's just a smart player. He's not throwing past the cutoff man. He'll cut down guys trying to score because he has such a good arm. I love him in the outfield. And then at the plate, power, drives and runs. He's still working on some stuff. He's got to be a little more selective. He walks a lot, but he strikes out a lot. And I know some people say, well, in this day and age, I'm sure some of the analytic people would say that, it's okay to strike out. But I think that he's got to make more contact because when he does, good things happen. So you want him to put the bat on the ball. And for that, he's just got to be a little bit more selective on certain pitches. But all in all, he's a star player, and he's a very mature guy, way more mature than you would think for a 21-year-old. So I've been really impressed by him.
Now, game 2 saw the Smokies head to Chattanooga, like you said, not too far away, and the same formula that you talked about. Walker Powell, throws 5 innings of 1-run ball, and I think we talked about him before. Was he undrafted? And they picked him up. And then, you talked a little bit about Frankie Scalzo, but, Kevin Alcantara is another guy that you didn't have that long, but in the second 3-run homer puts the Smokies up 3-0. And Andy Weber, who was 2 for 4, drove in another run to make it 4-0. So when you think about those two, when you think about Alcantara, who was a guy that just got there, and Weber, who's been in his second year with the Smokies, tell me a little bit about Kevin Alcantara in the short time you got to see El Jaguar.
Yeah, I didn't know that he was Jaguar until last night. Kevin Graver told me. I said he reminded me of a shark because he was, look, I live on the water. I mean, first off, so there's no Jaguars down here, but there are sharks. And what I love about Alcantara is he's not trying to walk. He's not trying to just go up there and get on base. He's trying to hit it out of the park. He's trying to drive in runs. He's looking to make solid, hard contact. He's got a killer instinct. And we had him batting down in the bottom of the lineup just to go to show how good and talented this team was. We had a lot of the Cubs prospects. We got the what I call the South Bend Cavalry like a week before the end of the season. And he was a big part of it. He was. We didn't have this last year. We lost in the championship series last year. They had promoted Alexander Canario, and they didn't give us Pete Crow Armstrong. They left him in South Bend, and we didn't have a center fielder. So they should have either left him there or sent us someone like a legitimate center fielder. Well, they took Pete Crow Armstrong, and they gave us Kevin Alcantara, and that solidified the middle. He plays. He's not as good to me defensively as Canario, but he's close. Kind of reminds me of the same type of player. Plays good defense, and he can hit, and he drives and runs, and he's really long and lanky. He's kind of like I don't want to say he's Dave Winfield, but just kind of like that build. And so he swings at a lot of pitches, but he's so long that like you really have to miss for him not to be able to get to it. And he came up with a lot of big plays in the little bit of time that we had him. But I said, yeah, he's like a shark. And Kevin's like, no, he's a Jaguar. And I'm like, okay. And he's telling me about it. I said, well, it makes sense. Jaguar, shark, same concept. But he was great. He brought a lot of fire to the team too. A desire to win, that the Cubs in the big leagues are going to really like him.
Love it. And Andy Weber, you know what I mean? Like, a guy that's on, he was on this team that lost in the postseason last year. So it's had to have been good for him to contribute like he did and, play all over the infield. And
play healthy. I mean, he had a great start to last year and then got hurt. And so, they came back this year and honestly, I talked to him after the game last night. You got to have that. And he's not old, but you got to have that veteran guy around all those kids. You're talking about a lot of guys like, how old's Alcantara? Is he even old enough to drink? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you got all these guys. Like, we can't have the champagne. Here's grape juice. Because they're young. But he's kind of that veteran presence that played college baseball and was part of the South Bend championship team in 2019. Great guy. So I was really happy for him. I was happy when I talked to him after the game, and he's like, this is the most baseball I've played in a while, just.
This is the Fly the W670 podcast, the ghost of Brant Brown. It's season 2. It's episode 74. All right, Crawly, 3 games left. How are the Cubs looking with 3 games to go in the wild card standings?
Not good, Dustin. We're just going to go that route. When the Cubs lost on Tuesday night, that clinched it for the Brewers, who are going to be in the postseason again. Craig Counsell. They have a 90 and a 69 record. The Cubs are in second place, 82 and 77, and Cincinnati's hanging in there with 81 and 78. Pittsburgh at 75 and 84, and the St. Louis Cardinals, very nice, 69 and 90. But what everyone cares about is this wild card situation. Philly has it, no doubt about that. So Philly is
they're in. They've clinched it. They've clinched the postseason, right? Yeah.
They're in their first wild card spot. They can't be caught anymore. So the question is the second and third wild card spots, and you still have 4 teams involved going into the last weekend, which is exactly how MLB drew it up. Arizona right now, this is going to be interesting. Okay, Arizona is 84 and 75. And in this situation, so they're 2 games ahead of Miami and 2 games ahead of the Cubs, but they are going to Arizona or to Houston, where they have to face the Astros, and the Astros are fighting for their spot in the postseason.
But those games are in Arizona. That I know for
those
sure.
aren't they in Houston or no?
I'm almost 90% sure. I'll check. You keep talking. I'll check.
Right. So that's going to be something to look at right there. Is either way, Arizona and Houston. I mean, they both have a ton to play for. So that is going to be one that you want to watch. Now, Miami beer last night, like I was, you saw that the Marlins were down 1-0 going into the 9th inning. The Mets had them, and they called in former Cub reliever. They cut this guy, remember, Anthony Kay, and he blew the save. And so Miami technically is up 2-1, and the rain starts pouring down. And so the game gets called after a 3.5-hour delay. And so now the situation is if that game comes into play, Miami would have to go back to New York on Monday to finish a half an inning.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing if it came down to that?
And so the Cubs are on the outside looking in 82-77. So they're half a game out technically right now, probably a full game if Miami were to win that. And then Cincinnati is 81-78. They're 1.5 games out. So this, you're taking a look again at the remaining schedule, and I actually have it right up here, Dustin. So they are playing at home, 3 versus Houston. And the Marlins are 3 at Pittsburgh. Let's hope it was a late night and they're groggy and tired. The Cubs 3 at Milwaukee and Cincinnati 3 at St. Louis. So you never know. But, I mean, right now the Cubs have a 26% chance to make the postseason. So I am telling you there is a chance. There's
always a chance. Until it's mathematically over, there's a chance.
Right. You're going to need help. And that's the thing.
Yeah, they need help. They had a chance to help themselves. They did not help themselves. So the good news is the Brewers are not going to have any of the top 3 pitchers going at it when they start things tonight up in Milwaukee.
No, and so let's just see what happens here. Couple minor league notes that we got here. Again, as you heard with Mick Gillispie on that interview, the Smokies won the Southern League Championship for the first time since 1978. Beating the Pensacola Blue Wahoos 10-3. Cade Horton threw 5 innings of 1-hit ball. He gave up no runs. B.J. Murray hit a 3-run homer. He was your MVP. Owen Casey, Matt Shaw, and Hayden McCreary all drove in runs for Tennessee. Congrats to manager Kevin Graber, his staff, our buddy Mick Gillispie, and all the players for their accomplishment. One other piece of minor league news, the Cubs announced some important awards. Congrats to Moises Ballesteros for winning the Buck O'Neil Minor League Player of the Year award. Ballesteros, Dustin, is only 19 years old. He started the season in Myrtle Beach, which is where I saw him. He moved up to South Bend, and he finished on the championship Smokies team. He's a left-handed hitting catcher and first baseman. In 117 games, he slashed 285, 375, 449 with 27 doubles, 14 homers, and 64 RBIs. Again, Dustin, I saw this kid play. He is the real deal.
How would that Cade Horton guy look in the Cubs bullpen right now?
Ooh. Cade Horton, he won the Vidi Mismo Minor League Pitcher of the Year award. Like Ballesteros, he started in Myrtle Beach, then moved on to South Bend and won 2 postseason games, including the clincher for the Smokies. So Horton's going to finish with a record of 4-4 with a 2.65 ERA. He struck out, Dustin, 117 batters in 88.1 innings. That's 11.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. That'll play.
That'll play at any level, I think.
Absolutely. We only have one bit of roster move or injury report right here. Before the game on Wednesday, Jeimer Candelario was activated from the IL where he was dealing with a back injury, and Jared Young was sent home. Thank you for your services, young man.
Yeah, Candelario, I mean, I'm happy that he's back, but he's really not looking like himself right now. That's for sure.
No, it's going to take a little bit of time for that to happen. So, unfortunately, we just don't have time. There's no.
Nope. Time is not something on the Cubs side at this moment. So let's get to it, Crawly. The moment is at hand. The Cubs and Brewers have faced each other quite a bit, but there are 3 more to go up north of the Cheddar Curtain.
Yeah, this matchup, Dustin. They've played 10 times. They've split the season 5-5. The Brewers took the first series at Wrigley 2-1. They split 2 crazy games in the beginning of July in Milwaukee, that 4th of July week. And then the Cubs last played Milwaukee in August, taking 2 of 3 to pull within 3 games of the Brewers at that time. Tyone struggled in game 1 versus Wade Miley and the Brewers. He gave up a leadoff homer to Christian Yelich, and the Brewers scored 4 in the first. Ian Happ and Patrick Wisdom hit solo home runs, but the Cubs lose this one 6-2. In game 2, we saw a battle of the aces as Justin Steele took on Corbin Burns. The Cubs scored 1 run in the first on an RBI ground out by Cody Bellinger. That was the only run scored in the entire game, and the Cubs won that one 1-0. Alzolay picked up the save. But it was the rubber game that really is kind of a turning point in the Cubs season. That was Kyle Hendricks versus Brandon Woodruff. Cubs jumped out to an early 2-0 lead on an RBI double by Ian Happ and a sac fly by Swanson. But the Brewers scored 1 in the third on a William Contreras single to make it 2-1. In the 8th, Mark Leiter came into the game up and gave up a single and 2 walk batters to load the bases. They pull him out, and Albert Alzolay comes in, and he hits Mark Canha to tie the game before he got out of the inning. Cody Bellinger hit an RBI single to put the Cubs up 3-2. Alzolay closed it out in the 9th, but Alzolay blew a save 2 days later in Cincinnati and then didn't pitch again in a week. He pitched 2 times in Arizona that week later before going on the IL. So that game, that last game that they played, that's when Mark Leiter started having problems, and that's right around when Alzolay got injured. And so that was a very, very costly win.
Yeah, you could say that.
Now, the Brewers clinched the NL Central when the Cubs lost to Atlanta on Tuesday night, winning the NL Central for the 3rd time in 6 years. They're going to be the number 3 seed in the postseason, no doubt about that. And the Brewers just finished a series with the Cardinals, taking 2 of 3 from St. Louis.
Well, the Cardinals have a little bit of a role in this still, right? They've got the Reds. That's where the Reds are this weekend, correct?
Yes, correct.
All right. Well, let's get at it. Crawly pitching matchups tonight. Kyle Hendricks gets the ball.
The professor.
Go ahead. Yep, the professor. Dr. Beeper, as I like to call him right now.
In potentially his last start as a Cub, the club has a team option if they want to pick it up. There's a lot of questions swirling around right now because chances are Stroman will not opt out. So whether they keep Kyle or not, that's to be determined. This, again, could be his last start. He's 6-8 with a 3.66 ERA. He's been pitching very good every time out, solid, even if the wins and losses don't reflect that. Again, he got a loss. He was tagged with the loss against Pittsburgh last time. That was 921. He went 6 innings, gave up only 1 earned run on 7 hits, but he took the loss. On 916 against Arizona, he went 5.1 innings, gave up 7 hits, 3 earned runs, no decision. And on the win against Arizona, he went 5.2 innings, gave up 7 hits and 2 earned runs. So like you said, Dustin, Milwaukee is setting up for whoever they have to play in round 1. So the Cubs will not be facing any of the real studs as far as the whether you're talking about Burns or Peralta or Woodruff, you're not going to see them. So catch a little break there,
It's good. That helps the chance. It can't hurt, right? It can't hurt to not face the 3 top pitchers for the Brewers. So again, the Cubs always still have a chance until they don't.
Right. You're going to be facing off against Colin Rea, who's 6-6 with a 4.74 ERA. When you're talking about Colin Rea, you're talking about a guy he's the one that's going to make you, I would say, he's kind of been like the swing man for the Brewers, kind of like the Javier Assad. He's been up and down AAA most of the season. He was optioned to AAA in August, called back up in early September. Since he has been back, he started a few games, and his record right now is looking at 6-6 with a 4.74 ERA. He started a couple games lately, but mostly, doing that kind of like mid-inning role. The last time he started was September 8th. So he started, in August 4th, and then he was out for a little while, and then September 2nd, and then September 8th. So he hasn't started since September 8th. It's his first start. He has some, he features a sinker, a cutter, and a 4-seam fastball and a sweeper. So Colin Rea's a guy you should be able to get to.
Yep, and they have to do that. I mean, the offense has been basically crap on a stick for quite some time. Overall, home run or nothing, basically. Don't do much with runners in scoring position. So it's do or die time. Everybody's got to do their job. We haven't seen a lineup yet. Very curious to see who might be in and who might be out.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much going to see the same lineups. I don't think you're going to see – David Ross has kind of made it clear he's not really into the young guys, and I don't see a Jeimer Candelario sighting. He's going to go with who got him there, and that's going to be, the lineup that we've seen lately. But Jordan Wicks is going to take the bump for the Cubs, and what will end up happening here is that that Jordan has pitched really good. Really, you couldn't ask for much more from a kid that's being asked to kind of really, take an important role in a postseason pennant chase. I've been so impressed by what Jordan Wicks has done. He is, looking at his record, he's 4-1 with a 3 ERA. And have we gotten a game 2 starter yet? Because from what I'm seeing, it looks like TBD.
Nope, all I've seen is TBD so far, Crawly. That's what I saw last night. I am looking as you are asking me right now. I am scrolling. Undecided. I have an undecided. Instead of TBD, Crawly, we have undecided.
My understanding is that there's a possibility.
Bullpen day?
It could be like Freddie Peralta pitches 2 innings, right? And then the rest would be a bullpen day, would be my guess.
Gotcha. Well, then you got to like your chances versus undecided. Hard to predict how the Cubs offense would do against undecided. Or how about the combination of undecided and TBD? Undecided is the opener followed by TBD.
I like it. And then I'm just looking at Jordan Wicks, and you're looking at, 4-1 with a 3 ERA, started 6 games, but, against 924 against Colorado, he went 6 innings, gave up 3 earned runs. He got the win against Arizona. He went 4.1 innings, gave up 3 earned runs, got the loss. At 9-11, he pitched 6 innings, gave up 1 earned run, and has a no decision on here. But when you're looking at this right here, he has been solid. Just, you've seen the runs kind of creep up. He's not looking as good as he did when he first came out here. You don't know how much of that is fatigue, and how much is that is the league adjusting to him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so in game 3, we're taking a look at Justin Steele making his final start. What else could you say about Justin other than a guy that just literally gave you every single thing he got every time out there? Stroman goes down, and he carried this team 16-5 with a 3.06 ERA against Atlanta, 5.1 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs. Against Pittsburgh before that, he struggled. He gave up 6 earned runs in 3 innings. And against Arizona, he gave up 6 earned runs in 6 innings. And so those were the 2 starts that knocked him out of that Cy Young chase. But they purposely set him up this way so that he would take the last game of the season.
Yeah, and how about no funny business on Sunday? All the games starting within 15 minutes of each other, starting at 2:00 and then going to 2:15.
Absolutely love it. Now they're going to be going up against Adrian Hauser. This is, again, I'm glad Steele's facing off against him because I think this is the toughest pitching matchup. Adrian Hauser has been the Brewers' 5th starter. He is 7-5 with a 4.32 ERA. And when you're talking about Adrian Hauser, like I said, he's in this amazing Brewers rotation, and he just kind of gets to be the overlooked guy. But just don't sleep on him. A 7-5 with a 4.32 ERA. He pitched 5 innings against St. Louis, gave up 2 earned runs and a loss. The week before he pitched against St. Louis, he gave up 1 earned run in the win in 6 innings. And against Miami, he went 5.0 innings. He gave up 2 runs on 5 hits, and he got the win in that one. He went on the IL at the end of August with some elbow issues, but he came back in the middle of September. He features a sinker, 4-seamer, and a slider. So this is, opportunity to take this game. But, the Cubs, we need Steele to kind of pitch, his best game of the season. You hate to put it on him.
Yeah, let's hope that it matters come Sunday, Crawly. That's the hope. And I wonder if it doesn't matter, if they will go to some type of a bullpen day and save those innings. All right, who's hot, who's not?
All right, for the Cubs, Seiya Suzuki is hot, 8 for his last 20. He has a home run, 5 RBIs. He's slashing 400, 455, and 700. Also, Miles Mastrobuoni, 6 for his last 16 with an RBI. He has 3 stolen bases in that time, 375, 412, 375 slash line, okay? What you worry about is the knot, and there's a lot in that knot department. Dansby Swanson's, he's batting 235 in the last week. Mike Tauchman's batting 231. How about Nico Horner? He's 3 for his last 18, batting 167 in the last week. And then Christopher Morel has just been, struggling for a while now. 2 for his last 12, slashing 167, 231, 4 shirts.
Is he going to get some at-bats in this series, Crawly, Christopher Morel?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to give him at bats right now when he's striking out and just looking so bad doing it. But you got a lot of cold guys in there that you're talking about in your lineup. When you talk about Dansby, Tauchman, Horner, and Morel, that's 4 guys right there.
Right.
And Candelario, who just came back.
He just came back, right? Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So not good. As far as the Brewers are concerned, I mean, Oh, God. Yeah, Carlos Santana was a huge pickup for the Brewers at the trade deadline. He's 8 for his last 17 with a home run and 6 RBIs, slashing 471, 500, 765. Look out for him. William Contreras, we talked about him. He was on the Braves last year. They traded him when they got Sean Murphy. But Contreras has had a heck of a season. He's 8 for his last 18 with 2 RBIs, slashing 444, 524, 556. I mean, Brian Anderson is doing well, but Christian Yelich, 6 for his last 17 with 2 home runs, Dustin, and 5 RBIs, slashing 353, 421, 824. All those guys are looking really good. Josh Donaldson, they picked him up when he was put on waivers. He's 2 for his last 15, 133, 235, 400. I think you could stick a fork in that guy. And then
I was hoping in that guy would kind of spoil the pot for them.
Yeah, he's just I don't like him as a person or a player. That's another day. But Sal Frelick is their young prospect, and he's this is again people talk about PCA. I don't know if you saw Ellie De La Cruz had a big home run against the Guardians, but Ellie De La Cruz was struggling. That's going to happen with young guys. He's 2 for his last 22. With only 1 RBI. He's slashing .091, .091, .091. But again, they're you call up these guys and see what they can do.
See what they can do. Hopefully the guys from the Brewers won't be doing much against the Cubs. That's for damn sure. Okay, Crawly, here we go. Prediction time. I mean, it's not about a prediction, right? They need to sweep. They need to sweep. They need to win all 3 games. So I'll go first. They're going to sweep, because if they don't, then the next time we get together, we're going to talk about the Cubs on the outside looking in more than likely.
Yeah, I mean, they need that sweep. It has to happen, and again, the Steele versus Hauser matchup is the one thing that I'm worried about. I have a feeling they're going to win tonight, and on game 2. I'm more nervous about game 3 than all of them. I just don't know if Steele has much left in the tank. And like I said, Hauser's a pretty good pitcher, and the offense has looked bad lately. So that's what we're going to take a look at.
All right, Crawly, best of luck this weekend. Are you heading north of the Cheddar Curtain, or are you going to be with Pat and Ron and on the couch?
I have tickets for Sunday. I'm holding tight, and I think it's going to be a game time decision. If it means something, I'll definitely be there. If not, it's going to be a 50-50 shot, because that'll mean my heart is absolutely broken. And I don't think there would be a lot of fun sitting in Miller Park listening to Brewers fans chirping in my ear. So I will be a game time decision.
All right, let me know how that goes. That's a wrap. Don't forget to listen, download, review, and subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Follow us on the socials. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram. Of course, we're on Twitter as well. You can email us at flythew670gmail.com, and you can watch us. See Crawly and I in action on YouTube by subscribing to the 670 The Score YouTube channel.
Cub fans, we've been doing this for 159 games. We got 3 left. Let's stick it out. Go Cubs! Hey guys, it's Crawly. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. If you want to see more of our videos, be sure to check out our playlist and let us know what you think in the comments below. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media to stay up to date with our latest episodes. Links are in the description. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Go Cubs!